the brain? Does consciousness live only in the brain? Or does it live in every cell? Well, it doesn't actually live anywhere. It exists. If we are alive, if there is pran and life in us, the cells of our body have consciousness, like they have prana. However, they're not able to be aware of that. They don't also have a brain. Our brain is the medium through which we experience consciousness. And this is why when people have brain injuries, brain damage, they're changed. It's also the reason on a very simple level that when people get drunk or take drugs, they do really stupid things. And then the next morning they say, my God, I don't know what happened. It wasn't me. Well, if it wasn't you, who was it? Obviously it was you, but you were not conscious. The chemistry of your brain had altered in such a state, in such a way that you were not able to access consciousness. And so you acted in ways that were not you. And so what we know is that the very physical chemistry and electricity and function of the brain is actually that through which we are able to experience consciousness. This is why when we take to a spiritual path, not only don't we use alcohol and drugs, but we commit ourselves to a sattvic diet. Everything we eat goes into our bloodstream. The bloodstream is flowing in our brain. It's why we commit ourselves to not watching violence or listening to gossip. Because all of that enters the brain, everything we hear, everything we see, actually changes the chemistry and the electricity of our brain. It's how we process sight. When I look at you, my retina is getting just light and dark. It's getting shapes, it's getting movement, it's getting colors. But actually to understand that it's you requires a much higher level processing. Chemical, electrical, physical. And so consciousness exists everywhere, but the physical brain is required to be aware of our consciousness, to be conscious that we are conscious, and to be able to expand our consciousness. When we meditate and we experience an expanded consciousness, well, if you're brain dead, you're still one with all. That truth still applies to you, but you're not aware of it. It requires our physical brain to actually learn to be quiet enough to find that space between the thoughts, to chant the mantra, to ask ourselves, who am I? In a state of which our consciousness is able to expand and we're able to experience the divine. So Pujya Swamiji has just given us in a nutshell, perfect answer. In one way you are aware, in the other way you are not aware. So it takes us back to the same thing in our brain. The brain of someone who's asleep looks nothing like the brain of someone who's in samadhi. When we are in samadhi, the brain looks very different. Certain parts of the brain are very quiet. The parts of our brain that say, this is where I am, it's what we call proprioception. It's what enables us to walk through a room without falling over and knocking over the furniture. In high levels of meditation, those areas of the brain become very quiet. It's what enables us to realize, I don't actually end anywhere. I'm everywhere. Other parts are very active. When we're asleep, different parts are sleeping, different parts are active, whether it's REM sleep, whether it's dream sleep, whether it's deep sleep, whatever it may be. So the awareness, the lack of awareness, it's all what's happening in the brain. So again, consciousness is there, but how conscious are we of consciousness is always the question.